Okay, I think I can see the number of participants stabling out, so that's good. Well, welcome everyone. This is an open day talk about philosophy and advanced diploma courses that we're offering at PACE. I am Dr. Alex Carter. I am the Academic Director for Philosophy and Interdisciplinary Studies, and I'm joined today by my two wonderful students on our philosophy courses, Alex Harrison and Renske van Broenhoven. And they will be talking to us a little bit later about their experiences and just also fact checking anything I happen to say. It's really important that we obviously make sure that what I'm saying is conveying things as they actually are. So it's really great that we've got some students here to give their experiences. Okay, without any further ado, I'm going to jump in and start outlining what's involved in the courses and a little bit about what PACE do, what we offer to our students. So the courses that we're going to be talking about, hopefully these are the ones that you're expecting me to be talking about. They are the Certificate in Philosophy, which is one of two certificates in philosophy. The one that we're going to be offering next year is Metaphysics, Philosophy of Language, and Ethics. There is also the Diploma in Creativity Theory, History, and Philosophy. There is a brand new course, the Diploma in History and Philosophy of Science and Technology. And then there are two advanced diploma programs, which is the Advanced Diploma in Research Theory and Practice and the Advanced Diploma in Research in the Arts Sciences. So I will give you more details on all of these courses, but those are the courses I'm going to be talking about with you today. Professional and continuing education, we are part of the University of Cambridge. The University of Cambridge was the first open university. We were the wing of the university that was open to all. We actually used to go out around the country to go and to visit other universities. And in fact, in that process, we ended up founding 5 other universities. So we have a wonderful heritage we are very proud of. And we've been offering adult continuing education for, as I say, 150 years, principally aimed at people who were otherwise excluded from education. So that included women, but it also includes obviously part-time learners, people who might otherwise not be able to sign up to a full-time course. And we offer now courses worldwide. I'm talking to you on Zoom. The reason I'm able to do that is because we have modern technology that is able to reach people no matter roughly what connection they have. So if you're hearing me loud and clear, you can study with us. So if you're on this call, you are someone who has already met the technical requirements to be able to attend our courses. And we offer short courses and undergraduate courses. We offer postgraduate degrees. The difference between a full degree and our undergraduate courses is that a degree means you matriculate, so you get a college. This is not something we typically offer except at MST level. One good reason for that, by the way, is because most of you might not be able to access those colleges. The other good reason is it keeps our fees down. And we are very proud to be one of the most affordable offerers of higher education in the country and with one of the highest pedigrees in the world. The reason I bring attention to that is not because I think we're cheap. On the contrary, higher education is a very expensive thing to commit to. And so it's really important that you understand what you are signing up for and that you are getting what you want to get from our courses. And that's why we work very closely with our students to make sure that they are getting what they want. So the things I'm going to say today are not about setting boundaries and limits to what is and isn't permissible for our courses. It's much more about making sure that there's the best fit for you, for your study. So what you hope to achieve in the long run, what will help you to get there? That's what I'm interested in. And yes, we do have our requirements, but actually those are much more flexible than most people realize. We are continuing education after all. So this is about working flexibly. It's about fitting it around your work life, around your family life, around your other commitments as well. So that's what we're for. And that's what we try and do to the best of our ability. So the courses I'm going to talk about are the undergraduate certificate courses, the undergraduate diploma courses, and the advanced diploma. And these roughly break down as follows, as 60 credit awards in each case. So for a year of study, or rather for 9 months of study with us, you'll get 60 credits in each case. If you were to do both undergraduate certificates in philosophy, you would have done the equivalent of a first year of a degree. So 120 credits at level 4 is the first year of a degree, 120 credits at level 5. So if you were to do both diplomas with us in creativity theory and in history and philosophy of science, then you would gain the equivalent of a second year in undergraduate study. And if you were to do both advanced diplomas with us, you would have the equivalent of a third year of study. Now, this is not a degree, therefore, because we don't, students won't matriculate, etc., and won't get it as a full degree, but it is the equivalent of a degree. And what it also means is that you can flex your study accordingly. So some people, quite a few people, will do one certificate with us, one diploma with us, and one advanced diploma with us, and then move on to postgraduate study. That is a possibility. Obviously, it depends on your grades and your ability to move up those levels, but very much these are progression pathways. These are designed to move you forward in your studies as you see fit. So as you sign up to these courses, you can decide to do, you can be a completist and you can do all of the courses we offer and get the equivalent of a degree. Obviously, you don't get a degree at the end of it, but you'll get your 2 certificates, your 2 diplomas and your 2 advanced diplomas. And as you progress that way, you can then go on to postgraduate study if you like, or you can do one. And indeed, sometimes we even have students who will jump levels. Again, like I said, we don't impose expectations on you to do level 4, level 5, level 6, level 7. Sometimes you might want to do level 4 and you've already got a degree, but you want to do now some philosophy so that you can then convert that to a master's in philosophy. So some people will have a degree in history, for instance, do an undergraduate certificate with us in philosophy, and then do the postgraduate certificate in philosophy, thus skipping over several levels in philosophy study to get to the postgraduate level. So this is all open to you as flexible pathways that you can explore. So the certificate in philosophy is open entry. What that means is you do not have to have studied philosophy before to undertake it. This means that there is a very diverse mix of students in the class, but I'd like to think we manage this very, very well. So what we have are students, some of whom have degrees, some of whom even have degrees in philosophy, who decide, I want to do an undergraduate certificate in philosophy nonetheless because I want to return to study. There's topics in here that I really want to explore. But it is open entry, so it also includes people who have never studied philosophy before. So if that includes you, please do not be put off by that. We are ready and set up to take students who don't know necessarily what the difference between ontology and epistemology are. You will learn that as part of the course. So the disciplines we cover are typically philosophy, but it is a literary subject. I often say that English literature is the closest subject to philosophy because it's about critical examination of texts. But there's also fascinating ways to explore history and science through philosophy as well. Cambridge prides itself on being about philosophy of science. It's about making discoveries, seeing what's possible, and then exploring those avenues. But it is also about situating these ideas in the past. So how did we get to where we are now? Well, we got there through different philosophical schools of thought shaping how we think about things. And in terms of skill sets, I think in all of these subjects, we are developing your critical thinking. In the creativity course, in the Diploma in Creativity Theory, History and Philosophy, you're also looking at developing your creative thinking. Now, not as much as you might think in a course that has the word creativity in it. In creative writing, you might well do a bit more creative endeavor, but we do encourage it. We are actively encouraging creative thinking. So I don't want to missell it as a creativity course, but it is very much something we want to see from our students. But we also have to assess you according to the standards of the disciplines that we're teaching. And what we're teaching is history, philosophy, sociology, film, evolutionary biology, business studies. It's everything that PACE offers is taught through the Diploma in Creativity Theory, History and Philosophy. There's a reason for that. Both of these diploma courses, you will notice, are interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary. And the reason for that is lots of people take our undergraduate level 4 programs and then want to go on to the advanced diploma, but diplomas typically didn't get too many students coming in. So what we did is we designed them to bring in as many people as possible. So what I love about the Diploma in Creativity Theory course is that we get such a diverse mix of students coming into it each year. The Diploma in History and Philosophy of Science and Technology, I'm hoping will be very similar, that we'll get people who have a background in history, we'll get people who've got a background in sociology. If you don't have a background in philosophy, you can still take this course. So if you're on this call and you've done the certificate in history or the certificate in English literature, or you haven't studied any of those subjects at all, but maybe you did a degree 20, 30 years ago, the Diploma in History and Philosophy of Science and Technology would enable you to jump into philosophy for the first time, perhaps, but only one unit covers philosophy as such, the philosophy of science. Other units will cover history of science, and others will cover technology and society. So if you have an interest in any of those things, it's a great subject to go into because you'll still be able to cover each of those topics in each unit, but they will specialize in one for each unit. And that will mean that you'll get sort of taken out of your comfort zone, which is a good thing, by the way. Learning only happens when you're discomforted. There are two places where learning doesn't happen: anxiety and comfort. You can't learn anything in either of those two states. Only when you are challenged beyond your skill level are you really learning. And that's what we want to see from our students. When it comes to the advanced diploma, the first year of the course is the research theory and practice component. And what that's doing is it's upskilling you in your research skills. So it's getting you to think of yourself as a researcher and start to read and engage with research texts. It's then developing different methods and design for research. And then it's reflecting back on yourself, but also communicating with others. And the second year of the course is very much now you go off and you research. And you'll notice that I've put disciplines, anything. And I do mean anything. I have had some of the most wild and wonderful suggestions for research topics in the advanced diploma. And I haven't failed to find a supervisor except once. And I technically didn't fail. There was a student who wanted to research kinemathematics, which is a very niche subject. I believe I understand what it's about, but not well. And I found two kinemathematicians in Cambridge. One of them said it was too mathematical, and the other one said it wasn't mathematical enough. So I failed to find a supervisor for that particular person, and I felt very bad about that. But that is after having taught this now, I think, for 8 years and seen maybe 30 applicants every year per course. So that's a lot of people who've been able to come and research things that they're passionate about. And it's included a wonderful range of different things. And I can't even begin to list them because there's too many. So if you're thinking, would that be a suitable course for me to engage in my research topic? The answer is almost certainly yes. So if you don't see your subject listed on the website as one of the topics we cover, drop me an email anyway. My email address is coming up at the end. And just say, could I research this? The answer is almost certainly going to be yes. In terms of content, I won't go through this too much because I've covered some of this already, and I just wanted to give a flavor of the sorts of things we cover. But it is to say the certificate in philosophy is a perfect course for anyone who wants to get a broad-based understanding of philosophy. So the advanced diploma is obviously very niche. You're picking your own topic. The diploma courses are a little bit less niche, but they are still very much centered on certain topics like what is science or what is the nature of creativity. These are quite specific questions to be asking within various different disciplines. So it's more like the disciplines get more varied, but the question stays the same. With the certificate in philosophy, you're definitely studying philosophy, but you're studying so many different aspects of philosophy, you get a really good understanding of what philosophers think like, what they talk like, how they write, how it's best to read them, and so on. Not always enjoyable, but always thought-provoking. So you can be jumping into the unit on ethics, which I was keen to make sure would be first, partly because when students come into philosophy for the first time, they probably don't have a view on whether time exists, but they probably do have a view on what's ethical or not ethical. So it's a good place, it's a good entry space for people to come into philosophy for the first time. And philosophy isn't necessarily what people think it is. It's a much more technical subject than people realize. So those of you who are in the sciences, for instance, would actually find it, they are quite at home. Because I often say that scientists make the best philosophers because they're coming already with a very clear sense of what is technical language. You know, if I use this word and I mean the same thing again, then I should use the same word again. So sticking to like deliberative technical language is really important in philosophy. The two diplomas, I'm moving all over the place a little bit at the moment, but the two diplomas give you a little bit more freedom to move out of that. So what you can do is you can start to specialize. To give you a quick example, the diploma in creativity theory, we had a student who was a producer of plays, and he wanted to understand the nature of patronage itself. So we often focus on the people on stage, or we focus on the writers. We don't typically focus on the people who are enabling those creative acts to happen. And in each of these 3 units, the student looked at the idea of patronage through those 3 lenses, through the idea of ancient notions of creation, Enlightenment notions of creatives and geniuses and so on, and then 20th century notions of democratizing creativity. So this is it's a really wonderful place to bring some of your own thinking in, and you start to put your stamp on things. You start to have your own viewpoints on things. And I'm very much hoping that will be the case as well with the Diploma in History and Philosophy of Science and Technology. All of us are having to deal with technological change happening in our professions, in our lives, and this is very much seen as a practical endeavor, very much like creativity as well. We need to see these skills developing, and this is a way of doing it in a way that is also quite academic, so it's not taking you out of that comfort zone of learning, but at the same time is challenging you to start to think about how do we actually apply ideas of what science could be to our practice of science? Well, how do I start to apply my notions of technology to how I implement it in my organization or within teams and so on? The advanced diplomas are very much the sort of most embedded courses. They're the most specialized courses, because what you're doing is you're working one-to-one with a supervisor who is supporting you in the development of a research project. Early on, you don't have to necessarily have a very clear idea about what that research project will be. I've had people come saying, I kind of want to do something in the philosophy of tax. Yeah, that is a thing, by the way. And then they've very much taken it in a different avenue, a different direction when they've developed their research. Other people have even switched disciplines at certain points. Now, we're a bit wary of that because we want to make sure that students are supported and they had the right supervisor, but that is possible as well. So you can flexibly move through the discipline, but typically people don't move too far away from where they started. With the second year, we very much hope that you have a very clear picture of what you want to work on, because the only thing you're going to have to submit is not a series of assignments that will develop your thinking, but rather the exposition of that thinking itself. So the dissertation, the unpacking of your bigger research project. The reason why we therefore need to have a very clear picture at the start is we will need to firstly set you up with a supervisor who's going to be your main point of contact. No longer are you going to meet with your cohort regularly. You will meet with them from time to time, but much more you're going to be falling back on the support of your supervisor. So it's really important to have a very clear picture of what your research project's going to be, which is why if we get an application to the second year of the course and you haven't got a clear picture of what you want to do, we might well suggest you go back to year 1 and start to develop that and think about what the methods are that you're going to use to research that project. If you do have a clear picture, you can just take the second year. You can just start with the Advanced Diploma in Research in the Arts Sciences. So very much so, the certificate is an open entry for people who maybe either have a degree or haven't got a degree or have some experience of higher education or don't have any experience of higher education to come into philosophy and experience the broad base. The diplomas are opportunities to advance that knowledge within a much more tailored, specific set of tasks, but to also put your personal stamp on it, to start take it in directions you want to go in. And the advanced diploma is taking that even further, letting you really explore perhaps a very, very niche subject that you're very passionate about yourself. And it might be because you have a work reason to do it. I had a student, for instance, who was researching the ethics of water sustainability, and she worked for a water company. And I said, are they paying for you to do the research? She said, no. I said, did you ask? And she didn't. So she went back to them and asked, and they paid her fees. So there are work reasons as well. There can be professional reasons to come to this, to do this research as well. So it may be that it's inspired by work, and it may even be that you can find funding from employers to support you in exploring those things. I know employers are very eager to have more creative teams working, and even some teams might well want you to understand a little bit about how AI might change society. So maybe the Diploma in History and Philosophy of Science and Technology could be a useful one for that as well. So don't rule out personal passion projects, but also don't rule out professional application as well. Okay, that's a lot of me talking, so I'm gonna shut up now for a little bit and hand over to our two wonderful students. So firstly, I'll hand over to Alex Harrison, who is on our certificate in philosophy program, and then I will hand over to Renska to talk a little bit about her experiences on a series of courses that she's taken with us. Alex, over to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Alex and I'm currently doing the certificate in philosophy course. So this is the first ever course I've done with PACE. And I was a student that had no experience in any sort of higher education. Um, I think what I really wanted to come and talk to everyone about today and why I really wanted to share my experience is just to say how completely accessible this course has been and like how much it's opened loads of doors. So I found myself in a really kind of awkward situation finishing level three qualification. So I just finished college. I just finished sort of sixth form level, so high school. And after spending the majority of the year in hospital, I only had two qualifications. So anyone who's not familiar with the UK system, you genuinely need three to four A-level qualifications to move on to higher education level. And it meant that on results day, I lost every university offer that I had, which was heartbreaking at the time. But it meant that I moved on to the certificate course with Cambridge Pace, and it is the best decision I've made in the last year. Not only because the course is fantastic, the tutors are fantastic. I've met so many awesome people. I was at first really quite worried about going on to like an adult education course. It was an odd choice because, you know, a lot of people in my situation probably would have continued on with level three. But I'm someone who's like really passionate about philosophy. I know it's what I want to study. And I thought that staying at level three, where I was already excelling in my sort of academics, would have just been really limiting. So I chose to be able to pursue my studies, keep advancing my knowledge, and it was the best choice. And you know, I've met some really great people, and I actually, even though it was intimidating, the thought of studying with people, the majority of whom would already have degrees or they're in the work sector, and I was just a student who'd never done higher education, but I actually found that in the seminar setting that we have, so it's a lot of recorded lectures, and then sort of we do seminars where we all work together. I learned so much from all of these people that have all of these different backgrounds and ideas, and my sort of experience in philosophy has like really been shaped by that. And anyone who's sort of considering these sorts of courses for academic progression and to be able to move on, I just want to say that it is possible. So in the last year, I used with the support of Alex, I used my certificate course to apply to university. So I was able to use the two A levels that I did have, the certificate this year, and so far I've successfully received an unconditional offer for University of York. I've got an offer for UEA. I've got an offer from Birkbeck in London, and I've been shortlisted for a place at Cambridge as well. So there's a really like a fantastic chance if you're thinking about moving on to university using this for sort of progression. Universities do look at these courses and they consider them really well. It meant that I'm sort of I can do really well in university interviews. It meant that I could boost up that UCAS application, and the support that I got from other students and from the team as well has just been fantastic. So my story is a bit it's a bit unique, but I think that's what PACE is all about, really. It's about students that, even in the history of it and how it started, it was students that couldn't fit into the education system and making it accessible for them. And it meant that I got to keep studying what I love to do. So I'm so glad that I've done it.
Thank you, Alex. That's wonderful. Yeah, I can't do better, so I'm going to shut up and move on to another wonderful story. Renska, please tell us yours.
Right. Well, I think if I tell you my entire story, it's going to be long because I'm checking off, like if I look at the course list, it's more, I'm looking at the courses I didn't do. I did creativity theory first, then I did 2 years of the advanced diploma, and now I'm doing a philosophy certificate. So I'm actually moving back to the beginning in a sense. But there's a reason for that. I started studying in, I think, 2020, 2021 during COVID. So I was looking for something to do. I'm a single parent. I live in the Netherlands. So it was kind of challenging to find a place that would have me. And also, I think I've felt a bit insecure if this was something for me. I originally come from the arts and I wanted to find a way to more or less formalize my knowledge. And I don't know, I think I was also just really curious. And creativity theory seemed like something that made sense, right? Coming from the arts. And then I think during that, I started falling in love with philosophy, mainly because it's a way to take your thoughts seriously, to go off something that feels like a gut instinct and not dismiss it, but start looking at other people that have written about it. And it's amazing. I think you referenced the philosophy of text, Alex, but there's not a subject that a person didn't devote a PhD to, right? So that sense of feeling alone in the world, or not knowing where to look, or maybe feeling your thoughts are weird. I've gone on to do olfactory research. I came in as a perfumer. Then I studied ritual and the secular sacred in contemporary society. And I'm currently working on applied epistemology with a philosophy degree. So I think I've gone from a position in the arts, I was teaching with the Royal Academy of Art, to something that feels much more substantial as well. And for that, it's a very practical thing, but I'm noticing a very big difference in how I'm viewed in the world. I actually have a job interview tomorrow for a European think tank that works across Cambridge, Brussels, and London for deep democracy and applied epistemology. So, it really opens up a very vast range of opportunities for you. And I think especially I wanted to note that the research degrees, if you're looking at things like AI, very fast moving worlds, right? The world is just not the same. So there's many curriculums that would fall a little bit behind. In that sense, doing a research degree and going into a specialization, whether that's AI or any other type of technology, right? Healthcare is in a bit of a crisis. You can literally find a subject that makes an impact, become a specialist, and then enter the work field at top speed. So I'm really noticing that with AI and governance at the moment. So plenty of opportunities, and curious about your questions as well.
We will get to questions, I promise, and soon. But I just want to note there that it's so interesting. Thank you, Renska and Alex. It's just unusual journeys through the even our courses, let alone how we came to those courses as well. But also professional applications, future planning for academic study. Renska talking also about the advanced diploma being part of that journey, which I think is really important, because I know we've got people on the call who are not philosophers, but who are thinking, what does the advanced diploma do for us? And Renska, you've summed it up wonderfully there by saying it kind of supercharges both your confidence and gives you a kind of discipline and focus in terms of what do I want to think about these things. Did you want to say more to that?
Yes, I see. Dimitri, is the advanced diploma the same as a bachelor degree? And it's not quite. But I wanted to make the distinction of how things are viewed in the field versus a qualification, right? I'm noticing that if you have professional experience, right? Many of the people on the course are an adult, so we have years in the field. If you add a degree on top, it's very hard to find places that would say this is not enough, you need to go and get a bachelor degree. So it's, probably good to know that in practice or in theory, there's a big difference. And I'm noticing that, like Alex said, universities or employers respond really, really well to especially the advanced degree.
Yeah, let's pick up on those as well. So to Dimitri's question about the advanced diploma being, so firstly, is it the same as the bachelor degree? No, it's not. We need to be really, really clear about that, because I think one thing that's fundamentally different is that the breadth of the knowledge isn't the same. As in, if you don't already have either a certificate or a diploma in the topic that you're researching, you will be a specialist in one area, and you won't necessarily know how that plugs into a wider framework. But I have noticed that some universities treat it as such. And I have been very clear with them that that's not necessarily the case. And so for me, it's less about, who will take it as such. It's much more about what do you take it to be? What do you see its value as? How much do you get out of it? And I think for me, it's much more about seeing it as a pre-masters. So I think that's a helpful way of thinking about it. Less as a bachelor's degree and much more as a pre-masters program. So if I'm ready to go into a master's, but perhaps thinking, what am I going to write my thesis on? Does this even stack up? Does this actually, will this be something I could study for a year, 2 years, possibly 3 years? Then maybe you want to go through the advanced diploma to just test that, to find a preliminary framework for thinking about your research going forwards. Mason's asked an interesting question around the potential overlap between the undergraduate certificate in philosophy, which covered certain elements of the philosophy of science, and the diploma, which covers some philosophy of science, of course, and how much is there an overlap there? And the answer is the same person is teaching and is quite acutely aware that they must not cover the same stuff. So you'll be fine. That won't cover the same material. It is, however, a great basis upon which to progress to the second year diploma, to think about, how is this applied? And it does, I would say the difference between level 4 and level 5 is not just the length of the assignments. It's the seriousness with which you engage with them. So you can start to think about not giving the kind of, this is the problem and this is how people have tried to answer it, but instead think much more about how you plan to answer these questions. So if there is any overlap with what you covered in the first course, it may be because you've just wanted to take it on, because you want to continue it on through the diploma. So that's also possible. As I was saying with both diploma courses, there is this opportunity to tailor it to what you're interested in. We will teach you certain content, but it's how you apply it that's relevant. And we have a question here from Quinley about the research project for the advanced diploma. Is it better for the project idea that I submit my application materials to have a broad topic, for example, the broad area of Oscar Wilde's life and the general history of the decadent movement? My wife is related to Oscar Wilde, by the way. I have no such fancy relations, but she has him, and Jonathan Swift as well. Unfortunately, I have no insight into Oscar Wilde's life, so I will not be supervising, unfortunately. But or a more narrow one. I think that's a really good point, Quinley. And the answer is it may well depend. So for me, much more important than the scope is the problem. So what problem are you trying to address? Is there a problem in how we understand the decadent movement? Is there a problem in how Oscar Wilde's life and works have been interpreted? If there is addressing that problem going to be a narrow response, or is it going to be a broad response? So that for me would be my advice when it comes to how you pitch it. Think about the problem, then think about the research question, and then think about with the structure and approach that you're going to take as a response to that. And Steve has asked, do advanced diploma students get access to Cambridge libraries? All University of Cambridge students have access to our libraries, and as members of the University of Cambridge, you will have access to the libraries. College libraries, no. But then no other person outside of a college typically has access to college libraries. And even as I say that, I'm technically wrong anyway, because I had a student who had a wonderful trip to Trinity's library, the Wren Library, to look at the original writings of Newton and to look at the original writings of Eddington. And they were allowed in and shown around. But I'm pretty sure anyone who had an interest in doing that would probably be welcome to do that. But in terms of the university library, in terms of the faculty library, and I can tell you certainly the philosophy faculty library is very open to philosophy students coming in, PACE students coming in. But I would also say that I've had access granted by the law library, by the mathematics library. So there've been most department libraries have no issue. All they ask is, can you give us a heads up before you arrive? Meaning, can we just make sure that we have a member of staff who knows how to register a PACE student? Because a PACE student is registered with the university in a slightly different way, and it's purely administrative. So if you get any pushback, it's usually just because they're just not sure how to do it. But the answer is they can, and the librarians know how, and yes, you can have access to those libraries. Also, the online resources are just vast and obviously so much more accessible these days. And one last point to mention, and I'll hand over to Alex, because I think Alex has something to add here, is that there is also a scan and deliver service that the university library runs, where you can ask for a chapter of a book to be scanned in and emailed as a PDF. And they say this can take 2 to 3 days. And usually it takes about 20 minutes. They are ridiculously fast at getting these texts out to you. So it's a really great service, and you get lots of wonderful access to resources that way. Alex.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I live about an hour from Cambridge, so I'm constantly at the libraries because it's just a good little place to study. So yeah, any level they can use the course, and even though sometimes you say you're a pay student and they're like, I'm not sure what that is, like people know, and it's fine to use the CAM card's great. It's nice to have that and to use around Cambridge. And the libraries are really accessible too, if that's something you're worried about. I have a lot of disabilities, and the Cambridge library staff, when you go to the main library, they're absolutely fantastic. They're good with wheelchair access. And if you've got and even like on the online text and things as well, if you've got problems with reading and stuff, there's so many accessibility resources you can get to access the libraries. So I've really benefited from that this year.
That's great. Thank you, Alex. And I think for me, the largest barrier is simply just becoming aware. So that's where things like talking to fellow students and finding out what other people have done. This is why what Alex said earlier about just meeting your cohort and talking with your cohort, engaging on the VLE, engaging with any student societies that have been set up, and engaging socially with each other. You just start to learn about all these different things that you might have access to, and it's always worth doing that. Just going back to another question from Dimitri around the research project for the advanced diploma, whether it can be counted as a publication. So publication is a very high bar. And I will tell students that typically, if you even score something like a 70, which is a first class mark, 70% is a first class, it's still much harder to then develop it into a publishable piece of work. That is not to put them off. It's just to make real the difficulty it is to get published. It's probably even harder in philosophy, but I sense that, Dimitri, you may not necessarily be researching philosophy. If you are, sorry, we are really pedantic when it comes to publication. So it's one of the hardest subjects to get published in. But we would absolutely support you in this and help you to do so. And I know that many people take the advanced diploma to either write a first chapter of their book or work up an idea that they had that they want to get published. I've worked with a number of students on doing that. Some of them have asked me to co-author, and typically I've said, you don't need me to co-author. You've written all the work yourself, get credit for it yourself. I will happily offer suggestions. But so no, it's a really valuable thing to think about publication, but I would say don't necessarily set that as your bar of what you, but absolutely it's something to aim for. So it's a good end goal, but it's not necessarily a good entry point where you say, well, if I don't get published, it's all for nothing. So that would be my advice. Robert has asked us, I'm retired with degrees from Cambridge and Stanford and want to learn about philosophy for personal interest. Is this a good thing for me to do, or should I look for courses for dummies? Personal interest is great. Look, I'm always clear with some students are sometimes either disappointed with their marks or they couldn't care less. And to be honest, who am I to say you should care more about your mark? I don't. But what I would say is get the feedback, because the feedback is one of the most valuable things. And again, I'll turn to Alex and Renska on this because I'm sure they will have something to say about this. But my view is that the tailored one-to-one feedback that you get at PACE outstrips feedback that you would get in most places. And our examiners who come in from outside universities often say to us, this is astonishing, the level of feedback you give to your students. So don't rule out the fact that feedback and assessment can be a big part of getting that learning. But at the same time, you can study not for credit. You can attend our courses. You can even submit work and still be not for credit, but you don't have any of the pressures of, will I pass? Won't I pass? What grade did I get? But you can just study not for credit. So Rob, it's absolutely an option to do. What I would say is what's special about our courses is, again, if you're studying not for credit, you still get to attend those seminars that Alex was talking about, where you are sitting down and you're talking problems through and you're getting that kind of live engagement with these topics. Whereas I've noticed that a lot of, I won't call them courses for dummies, but I will call them kind of online courses that for mass market, will typically not involve that component. Even our online courses are very much tailored to be that for our students, to provide that tailored one-to-one feedback. So our short courses, our online courses include that as well. So I'd like to think that but I would say this, wouldn't I? That we're the best place to go if you just want to learn for personal interest. But yeah, so I will turn to Alex and Renska to say whether they agree with that or not.
No, definitely. So I have all of my friends have sort of gone into mainstream university. And I remember trying to explain what course I'm doing to them and how it kind of works. And the first thing I really remember is that they were jealous of the feedback I got on my first essay, because they were like, it was so extensive, and so helpful that they've had, like essays they've written for university level where they're not getting that kind of, so it is really, it goes beyond that kind of, if you're looking more at like massive open online courses or MOOCs as people call them, you don't get that kind of that personal feedback to it. So it was really valuable for me because it meant that I've got that sort of university experience. It is like, the way you interact with your tutors is like you gain that insight into a university experience, or as I've heard from my friends, even better than that, because they were quite, they even they've said the feedback that on the essays is was just fantastic, and it means that you can see your own progression. It like if you like when you've written an essay and you've gotten that feedback, you know exactly where you need to go next, and you're not feeling lost. And if you are feeling lost, you've got student support, who I meet with once a week, and they're also fantastic.
They are.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Alex. Renska.
Yeah, absolutely want to chime in on that, Alex. And you're right, it's the feedback, but also if you're studying with PACE, we don't get a Poincaré module by someone who maybe read a book. You get a Poincaré, like, what, I can't even find my words. No, but you don't get the subject from someone who just read a book. You get someone who wrote the book, right? And I think that is a very big difference. If you ask a question, if you want to go in depth on something, your tutor is not going to know the question. They're going to wring their hands and say, like, how much do you want, right? And I think the depth of that is very, very different from a course for dummies who would very, like, briefly gloss over Descartes. If you want to engage with that, they will find you someone who knows everything about it. So big difference there.
That's so true. It's to the point where when I was writing my first essay, I was like, when you have to reference your own teacher, it's a bit like, oh no, like, because like if it's wrong, they're gonna know. So it's the best person to give feedback. But just if you're worried that it's gonna be too advanced, just like remember that I came into this never have done any like university level study. So it's the kind of thing where if you want to become an absolute expert in Poincaré, you're working with the one person who's going to be able to do that for you. And if you've never studied philosophy before and you need to know what the basics are, you can learn that too. You know, I remember thinking, I don't know what any of these words mean, and now I could use those words in a conversation with my peers. So it will give you the strength to and the ability to go really far with it. But also you can start from knowing nothing and you can build up. So don't worry about it being like too advanced. It's entry level. You can start knowing nothing and you'll come out with it being like a mini philosophy expert. You'll learn so much.
Yeah, that's probably, yeah. Sorry, that's probably the biggest difference that I've noticed is that I found with every tutor I've had so far, people are really looking at you as a person and looking to develop you, right? Starting from your A to your B. So if your A is just coming in and going like, what is ontology again? Or if you're like wanting to be an expert in Deleuzian ontology, you can find someone who will help you develop. And also look at what you need as a person. So what surrounding skills do you need? There's study skills sessions. There's all kinds of tools to help you kind of become a better version of who you were when you came in. Yeah.
Thanks, Renska, and Alex as well. And I think the only thing I would add to that is to say that I say something to people at the start of the year that gets a lot of nods from them, from the students who've already studied with us, where I say, right now, those of you who haven't studied with us are thinking, will I pass? After your first submission and your feedback, you'll be thinking, how do I do better? That's all you'll be asking yourself. So that worry, that initial worry, does go away quite quickly, and you get this ability to just say, well, okay, well, how am I improving, and how am I improving? And it could be you're improving, as Renska is saying, from like 75 and up, or it could be that you're improving from a 50 to a 55 to a 60. And again, all we want to see is that improvement develop over time, and that's what we commit ourselves to. So Halkin has asked, if one were to do the certificate, could one then apply for the diploma? At this stage, it doesn't matter which one. Absolutely. So yeah, if you've got a level 4 qualifications, if you've completed our certificate, of course, yeah, absolutely. That's the standard requirement for someone then going into level 5 is that they've done level 4. I would even argue, if you haven't done a certificate but you want to do one of these diplomas, please consider it. Please apply. It's not going to cost you anything to do that. And if worst case scenario, we say we think you should do one of our certificates first, you've definitely lost nothing, because you would have applied for that anyway. So my advice would be, don't rule it out. But what I would say is, typically what we're looking for is either some level 4 qualification before you go on to the diploma, or professional experience. And so any kind of evidence you can offer of that experience, please just give us the evidence, because we just need to know. We don't discount you because we know you. We discount you because we don't have the evidence. So if you've got a reason for thinking, well, I did this qualification at work, and does that count? Yeah, it probably does. It's probably great that you've done that. And if you've been 15 years a journalist and you want to do the advanced diploma in research journalism, who am I to say you don't know enough about journalism? You've been doing it for 15 years. So don't rule yourself out on that basis either. So the requirements are guides, yes, and we would typically want that as a standard requirement, but we have non-standard applicants too, which does not mean bad applicants. And typically some of our best students have been non-standard applicants, because some of them, for instance, have a master's but no degree, which means that they're listed as non-standard applicants because they don't have a 2-1 degree, but they've got a master's. So, they've done even better in some sense. But so it is about hitting those requirements, yes, in some cases, but don't rule yourself out. And again, we're continuing education, so we will answer those questions. And again, emails will be coming up very shortly to guide you to the people to ask. So we have Andrea, who is a first-year student studying philosophy, and I'm considering taking the Diploma in Creativity Theory, History and Philosophy alongside my degree in order to apply for a master's in the future. Particularly interested in areas such as decolonial epistemology, ecological thought, and indigenous knowledge systems. Just to note, the person who co-teaches that course with me is an expert in ecological thought and indigenous knowledge systems, so that's kind of a good fit. I was also wondering whether Cambridge has academics who specialise in this area, so that's answer to that question. Yes, there is. Marina is who you're looking for, Marina Velej. She's an artist, but she works specifically around ecological thought and indigenous knowledge systems. So yes, one of my colleagues here at Fitzwilliam College also was an expert in indigenous knowledge systems. Sadly, she has left, but all I'm saying is there is an ecology of that kind of thought system as well. So there are plenty of people here who would happily engage with you on that. With regards to the question of studying part-time alongside existing study, that is also possible. If you can do our part-time courses, again, alongside a full-time job with children, as many of our students have done, then why wouldn't you be able to do it alongside full-time study? What we would say, though, is do think carefully. In particular, what I would ask people to look for is, when do the assignments fall? Because if you have an important assignment due in on one course and you have another important assignment due in on our course, and you're thinking, am I going to be able to do both of these? Getting an extension that's the only time it would be tricky, because you can't say you didn't know that those circumstances were there. So look carefully at when those assignments might align. If there's no direct alignment, then I would say you should consider it and absolutely think about applying. So I've got a question here from Michelle about the number of hours studying are expected at minimum, especially for someone. So I get this question a lot. And again, it's a really difficult question to answer because it will vary. So again, if you have had experience outside of this course, then you wouldn't necessarily have the learning curve that others might have. What I would say, though, is you can do a lot of prep now. And in fact, I'm not going to get to answer all of these questions. It's so lovely to see how many questions have been asked. And please do, again, my email is going to come up. And if any of these questions are still burning, send them to me and I will try and answer as many as I can. But what I will say is, you can prep for this in advance, especially if you sign up to the course early. It gives you a financial bonus. I'm going to talk about this in a second, but also gives you access early on to certain resources that we make available to students to upskill. So you can start studying much earlier than you expect. So rather than it being a bit of a shock to the system come October, because we all have pretensions, right, of saying, I'll practice over the summer, I'll get all of my writing done, I'll even answer some of the questions in the course guide ahead of starting the course. No one does this. You might think that you will, no one does. But if you have a framework, i.e. if you're signed up to our courses in advance and you've got access to those resources early on, including the library resources and so on, then it just makes perfect sense that you would then start jumping in more early. So that's the reason we're doing this, is we're trying to encourage students to engage early on with their studies. And so, yeah, so the earlier you engage, the easier it will be to manage those expectations. But to answer your question as directly as I possibly can, you need to give up 4 Sunday afternoons in the term. So that's 12 across the year. If you were also to give up an afternoon on a Saturday and a couple of evenings in the week, you are doing more than enough. Okay, so that's what I would say. A couple of evenings and an afternoon on a weekend for prep, and then of course the teaching on top of that. And I would say that is someone who is hitting the moderate level of engagement with the course. High level of engagement, you can go to the library every weekend if you want, but no, I'm not going to insist that you do that, and nor is it required. Can one do a UG certificate and a UG diploma simultaneously? Answer, yes, you can. As I said before, you can technically do parallel study, but we are wary of it, partly because we are essentially causing your difficulties in terms of submissions. So again, look at the assignment submissions. The one thing I say you can't do simultaneously is the Advanced Diploma Year 1 and the Advanced Diploma Year 2. Why? Because Year 1 is prepping for Year 2. So how can you possibly start Year 2 at the same time as you start Year 1? So those are the only 2 courses where I would say don't do it. But you could do the advanced diploma alongside a certificate course. And some people have done that because what they wanted from the course was a talk component, but they weren't getting that necessarily from the advanced diploma. So they did the advanced diploma so they could research, and they did the certificate so that they could do talk lessons and actually learn new things in the subject. So Tim's asking how common it is to be accepted to level 5 if you haven't done level 4. I would say at least a couple of people a year out of 20 people who are accepted onto one of our certificate, onto our diploma course. And again, that number is going to change because we've now got 2 diploma courses in philosophy. But I would say it's at least a couple a year who I think meet the requirements solely on professional experience. But some of them also forget about qualifications that they have that would have qualified them anyway. So that's also a common issue, is that people think, oh, hang on, yeah, I did do that, didn't I? And so that would count. So for instance, a level 4 apprenticeship or a kind of data analysis course or something like that would count as level 4. The question is it relevant to what you're studying? Maybe not, but it might well tick that requirement box that is for level 4. Again, the more important question is not, am I ticking boxes, but am I going to be able to hit the ground running, and am I going to be competent and capable to do this? And that's why, again, signing up early can be helpful for that, because it can give you a lead up to the course. Your grades are not included, Dimitri, on your certificate, but they are included in a transcript. So you can have your grades included, but the certificate that you are awarded, we have our award ceremony coming up in April. When we hand over those awards, they do not list grades, but your transcript does. David, this is an important question. I want to turn to this. So I have a disability and a significant long-term illness and began my MA in hospital. Very impressive. Is there support for students who may need time for medical care? Answer, yes. Again, we are set up for this, but Alex, I imagine you can speak to this better than I can.
Yeah, no, I'm also someone who regularly studies in hospitals. I know that feeling, so I feel for you. The disability support at Pace has been absolutely fantastic. The only thing I'd say is just make sure that they're aware of you when you sign up for the course and start your course. I had an issue with my first submission because I was like really, really unwell and couldn't get out of bed, and they made sure that they could extend it. It was the support that I got there was fantastic, and I actually found it to be more accessible than any education I've been on before. I used to struggle to get through sixth form, but being a PACE student, I actually just, it was completely accessible. I was able to engage with all my lessons. If you're unwell and you're like in a seminar, like I've got permission so that if I'm like in hospital or whatever, I can still join the sessions and I don't have to have my camera on if I'm having a rough day. It means that even if I'm having a day, like my tutors have said to me, if you're having a day where you feel like you can't talk because you're not well, you can sit and you can listen and you're still going to be sort of engaged in that way. So it's just fantastic being able to engage with that course that way. And if it does come to things like submissions, they'll help with that too. And I work with David, who does student support at PACE, and he meets with me once a week. Well, it was once a week. I haven't seen him in a little while, but we sort of every other week or so we catch up. And so I have something called chronic fatigue syndrome, which means that my energy levels go all over the place. And I sat with David and we worked out when I could study, when I couldn't study, and we were able to make a really reasonable plan there. So they'll help you do that too. That's been really helpful.
What I could
Thanks,
also
Alex.
add is that during one of the degrees, I had a lot of personal circumstances and I had to intermit, right? So if something comes up and there's a absolute disaster or a move, or you just can't follow through with a year, be in touch and people will really do their best and are very lenient about finding a solution that works for you. Yeah.
Yeah, and just very quickly to the excellent answers there from our students, but I just very quickly to mention that we also record most of our seminar sessions as well. So if you miss them entirely for whatever reason, you can also catch up with that. It's not as good, of course, as being there in person and being able to ask your own questions and even just engaging in the chat, but it is useful to be able to listen back on recordings as well. Okay, at that point, I'm afraid I've run out of time to answer questions, but I'm so delighted that we had so many fascinating questions. I think, what was it, 27 questions that we had from an audience of 30? And that's all the participants. That includes everyone on the panel. So amazing. Thank you, everyone, for being so engaged with those questions. That's what philosophers should be, I guess, and researchers as well. Okay. So very, very last sort of point to make. Again, I mentioned this earlier. There are benefits to enrolling early. Benefits for us, let's be frank, we want to see our student numbers confirmed, etc. But the benefits to you vastly exceed any benefit that we're trying to get from this. The point is a purely pedagogical one. We desperately, desperately, desperately want students who feel like they're connected to PACE from the very beginning. And the one really nice way to do that is, rather than having your first week be, here are your first set of lectures, here's your first set of readings, here's everyone in your cohort, say hello to them, here's the other resources that you can access in the university. Oh, by the way, you've also got to do this administration thing, get your UIS access, etc., etc. It's so much better if you can sort of lay the groundwork for that in advance. So there's a financial benefit if you were to sign up before the 30th of May, £150 off your fees. This reward will be issued as a refund after your successful enrollment in the course. This can be combined with other concessions as well. So this isn't just for those of you who aren't already getting a concession or a bursary. This is for everyone, including those people. You'll also get access to a VLE area. I've resourced a lot of philosophy resources. These include just lectures on a range of topics like Wittgenstein and Stoicism and creativity theory, and guides to how to research and how to read philosophy, how to critique philosophy, how to write philosophy. That last one being very, very important for people wishing to study philosophy, is how to write. It is such an important part of it. And guess what? It starts with don't use AI. Sorry. It starts with that, I'm afraid. But that's not to say there aren't good uses of AI, but this is not the call for that conversation. But there's a lot, and also it will give you an indication of all the resources that are available out there. We've even partnered with the Royal Institute of Philosophy as well to provide some of their resources through our website. That's accessible anyway, by the way. No, it's not unique to us, but it is accessible through the VLE to certain things that might be relevant to you in your studies as well. There are also bite-sized lectures that you'll get access to, including a couple that I've done over the years as well on ecology and other topics. And and access to the LibGuides as well, which is the university's study skills resources, which I have to say are fantastic and were originally written for adult learners. They were written by Wolfson Library. And as I've said many, many times in the past, adult learning is just excellent learning. It's just excellent education. So guess what? When they saw how good these resources were for adult learners, they said, well, we've got to give those to our standard undergraduate applicants as well, and they have. So those are the kinds of resources that we offer to our students. And there are also some short courses that we're offering free through some partner institutions, some of those online courses that I was mentioning before as well. So there are a lot of resources available to people if they were to sign up early. If you can't, for whatever reason, please do continue to sign up to our course. But maybe drop me an email and ask me for some advice and things like that. Because again, you can still start early even if you haven't enrolled early for whatever reason. But this is such a good thing to be offering. We're offering it for the very first time this year. And so we're really keen to get people to be doing that if possible. So general inquiries, if you've got a question about how to apply or any questions about finance or bursaries or even that early enrolment offer, drop an email to the inquiries@pace.cam.ac.uk. If you have any questions about the courses themselves, their structure, their content, and that's the philosophy courses, but also the advanced diplomas as well, drop me an email. It's alexander.carter@pace.cam.ac.uk. I am pretty quick at coming back on emails, but I'll do my best to come back to those as quickly as I can. But yeah, be great to hear from you and to hear why you want to study these courses as well, because that really helps me to understand how best to advise you if I know what you're really aiming to do in the long run as well. Okay, so life continues, so does learning, but this open day session has come to an end. I would like to thank our wonderful students, reps here, Renska and Alex, for their time and for their thoughts. Thank you so much. If you'd like to make any closing remarks.
Now, I thought it was a very exciting session. I got motivated again to start studying, Alex. So I might just, I keep taking every course you come out with.
I was looking at both of you as I was talking, so yeah, that's who I was aiming at because I can't see the others. But I hope I've reached everyone else as well. And thank you again, Alex, as well.
Yeah, it's, just as a wrap up, if you're on the edge of thinking about whether you should or you shouldn't do one of those courses, just talk to someone because they're all really friendly, I promise. And it was the best decision I've made, so I'm sure it will be for you too.
Brilliant. Thank you, Alex. And thank you, everyone, for listening. And I look forward to seeing you, hopefully, on our courses. Take care.